what it's like to graduate with your master's degree from New York City. Yo.
Now I never doubt because my father proud of me. I pray my soul stay intact until I'm in the ground. Used to trip about
Yo.
You making videos?
Yeah, bro. It's taking my time.
SpongeBob.
I'm saying constantly changing. Ours is like, that shit doesn't get changed too much, bro. Crazy.
Alright, y'all. So we just graduated with our master's degree from New York City. So tell me how y'all are feeling. I want to hold the mic. Let's get it started, bro. Let's get it started, bro.
Thanks for having us, man. I feel relieved. Definitely, most likely relieved. It felt like, from one point, I guess, it felt like a long time, but looking back, I mean, time really flew by. I mean, 2 years. Yeah. Lots of classes, I mean, difficulties, you know, but I guess we're good. And, you know, the thesis and everything is all done.
Not just exactly what you guys were saying of relief. For me personally, though, I took like, because I was in the accelerated program, so I was taking like these grad classes while I was in undergrad, and then the second I finished undergrad, which was in the fall, I started the semester back in the spring. So it was, I finished the end of December and then started classes for the grad program next month in January. So I had like less than a month off. So it's been like, what, 20 years of just like constant classes back to back with maximum a month or two off. So now it's like just thinking that you don't have this integrated schedule into your daily life anymore. So it's just like reality hitting back where it's like work, other responsibilities that you have, but you don't have to worry about classes. You don't have to check your email. You don't have to worry about submitting something or whatever it is. So I think it takes some time to get used to and to adjust to, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It clears up a lot of time. So I think instead of classes and assignments and projects that you're working on, you look for other things to kind of take up and do in that time. But yeah, it's just been, it's not even university, man. It's like, well, everybody got the same message at the same time. You know, we're all in the same group chat. No one's left out of the group chat. No, but that's pretty much it. It's definitely a relief and like just one less stress and thing that you have to worry about. But the time passed by crazy. I also think we came at such a crazy time where everything was online, and then we were kind of transitioning back into a classroom setting. So it was like a weird adjustment for everybody to take on. But I'm glad at least like we had at least some in-person component, because I'll say like the first grad class I took was fall of 2020, and then the year after that, like everything was online. So like you were meeting and talking to people, but it was all through online. I think like me and Steven met and we talked for like almost a year or something like that without ever meeting in person. And then Maim, I met him like 3-4 years ago, and then never met him in person until like last year.
Honestly, for me, I just think, like, I'm gonna agree with what he said. The way the program is kind of set up, I mean, towards like the last year for the masters, like I was able to do internship, so it felt like I could juggle work and school at the same time. So like rounding up right now just feels more like I have more time to do other things that I probably wanted to do, but like also, you know, the school is taking like more time. So transitioning into like the world of work, I don't think it's gonna be like, you know, very drastic or something like that. Yeah, it's just gonna like walk smoothly into it, and now you just have time to prioritize like a lot of things about like life itself. You understand? Because everything is not about like, you know, doing assignments and submitting. You gotta do work. You gotta, you know, probably build up some other relationships outside like work. You know, we were talking about like housing, inflation, like all those, like you in it like right now. Because you're not gonna live with your parent like ever, right? So now we gotta like learn life itself and learn how to navigate that. Basically.
One thing, let me add on to that, was like I just randomly thought about this, but we were just talking about it a little bit earlier. Was our program is more designed for people that are working and then they take classes in the evening. And I don't know one person in our program and everyone that's sitting here that isn't working, or at least like full time or something like that, right? So one thing that's interesting is like a couple of days ago, like when people, like I was just walking by and they were like, oh, congratulations and whatever, like other professors that don't know too much about you, they're like, oh, so what's next? What's the next step for you? And I think about it and I'm like, what's the next? I'm working already. Like I'm literally just gonna continue what I'm doing. Like I'm not, like nothing's literally changing for me. Like we graduated, like the graduation was Thursday, like all that, like celebrated whatever. And then Friday morning, like I logged on and I did the same exact work. I met with the same people. My work didn't change. I had the same emails and Slack messages waiting for me. So it's like, I think ours is a little bit different because like we're already used to juggling so many things while having classes. So it's like, what's next for you is just like, I'm literally just going to continue on doing what I'm doing. Whereas like other programs that you where you have more emphasis on the schooling, the projects, and all the things that you're working on. At maximum, you're doing like a summer internship or something like that, and then you actually start full-time or like start working 20, 30 plus hours after you graduate. But for us, most of our experience was like working and then it would be like 6:30. It's like, oh crap, now I gotta hit class or whatever it is. So for me, at least, probably other people's experiences are different, but for me, at least, it was always like work and career was kind of like first, and then school was kind of second. Not to say like I cared about it less or anything like that. It's just it consumed more of my time and more of my energy.
What I wanted to say is that like all of our experiences in grad school is a little bit different, just because like we go to a commuter school. It's a little bit weird for us as graduate students going to a commuter school because, you know, we don't see each other as often. You know, we're on Zoom most of the times and stuff like that. But I feel like if you go to a more traditional graduate school, you're more in person. You're more, you know your classmates better. You know your professors better. And I did get that experience. Don't get me wrong. But that's because that's the type of person that I am. I'm a little bit more, extroverted in terms of, speaking to other people. But there are other people in our program who are more introverted, more, to themselves and stuff. And they never really got that experience. So speaking with you guys, we're all really close and stuff because we all decided to, speak and be social and stuff like that. What do you guys think about your, just your experience in general, just going to school in New York City, this big, beautiful city,
It was definitely a struggle, but if you think about it right now, it was every time that I made it to campus, even though I had 7, 8, 10 hours of work, it was definitely worth it because, you had the time to talk to the students, had the time to even go to your professor office hours, like revisit something, even get out of the house, get out of your office, get out of, do something different, come to campus, even though your class may be online, even though you don't have something specifically in campus. So looking back now, it was definitely worth it. I wish I had more time and more motivation, I would say, on my end to come here and just get out of the house and take advantage of, the beautiful campus, the classes, we'll be paying for everything. So, it's definitely an opportunity for you to come here and meet people, socialize and just get out of the house, especially, post-COVID where everything got involved within the house. I feel like the balance was definitely an issue, at least on my end. Just, as Hamza said, most of us had a second job. I mean, a second job, second, school came kind of secondish. Mainly the job consuming most of our time. So being campus definitely relieved some of that stress. Made you change, a little bit your environment and recharge your batteries and get back to your life. So it was definitely worth it, and definitely a nice experience.
Yeah, I think my experience is probably a bit different because if you were talking to someone, if you just think about this, right? Imagine if you never lived in New York City, or if you weren't from New York City, and you ask somebody, you tell somebody, yeah, I was born and raised in Queens, grew up here, went to school my whole life here, went to undergrad school at Queens College, and then continued grad school at Queens College. It kind of seems very close-minded, and that you never left you're kind of closed in, and you never left a certain block of your life. But that was my experience. I was born and raised in Queens, and then undergrad went to Queens College, and then continued grad school in Queens College. So the thought would be that my life was very closed and things like that, but it's the complete opposite because of the different experience you get in New York City, which is a benefit, right? Like my campus and my general college experience was different in the fact that typically a little bit more for undergrad was like when I finished class and stuff like that, I would either go on to work or I would go back home and just do things that I needed to do. Like my schedule, the way I looked at it was like, I have classes from 12 to 4, perfect, 12 to 4, then I leave my house 11:30, I get back home or to work at like 4:30 or whatever it is. Whereas other people, if you're living in the dorms or on campus or a more traditional university that isn't a commuter school like ours, like that kind of takes up your whole day. Whereas like we always navigated like schedule changes and things like that. But that's to say, like my whole experience here has been a little bit crazy because it hasn't been closed as you might have, you may think at first glance, because I was just talking to Stephen about this the other day. Like, we have old people in our program and just in the college in general that come from all different backgrounds, whether that's skills, career paths, ethnicities, religions, backgrounds, cultures, and whatever. Like, I don't think I've ever met anyone on this campus with my same ethnicity or culture or background. And you would think that, like, oh, if you're born and raised in the same place, you see the same thing every day, but it's a completely different experience just because we live in New York City and especially in Queens. So it's been a little different there, but I don't know. I enjoyed the experience because I think it gave me a lot more to do outside of university. And I'm not like degrading it or saying it wasn't important. Of course it was, but it just gave you more things to do, more experience to draw from, whether that's work, whether that's just being in New York City in general, and then having that whole piece. But last thing on Andreas's point was like just the in-person component was definitely better to have it to some aspect, because like I think you break a lot of misconceptions about people and stuff like that. I was telling Steven, like, funny story, when I interviewed at this place that I'm working at now in October, my manager later when I got hired was like, yeah, when I saw your name, Hamza, I was like, oh, there's some brown kid coming to interview. And then you joined the Zoom meeting and I was like, what the hell? Like, this is not who I was expecting. Like, so it's like misconceptions like that. Like when you actually get to meet people and talk with them and then learn about them. And then one of the cool things is everybody's so laid back and relaxed. And I think like that maturity level, because you're working and stuff like that, makes it a little bit easier for people. But definitely different personality types, as you were saying, like people that are extroverted or introverted. But I think as long as you have more in-person components and get people involved, I think it's helpful and it's a rewarding experience.
Schooling in New York City, I feel, is very good because if you guys don't know, like I mentioned before, I was in a school before in Jersey. I don't want to mention the name of the school, just to be on the safe side. Like I was there and I had in-person classes like during COVID, and the whole thing feels weird. Like I couldn't really associate with someone. I remember like telling someone, like, we finished class and I just like looked down to put my laptop in my bag. I looked up and everyone was gone. And I was like, man, I was expecting, people to be around, hanging out, like, oh, what's up, what's your name, and stuff like that. And everything was just like, so it was just like, I felt like just by myself and stuff like that. And I came to Queens College and everyone is just very open to, to socializing and whatnot. And it was very like, it makes you have like a very good outlook about like how college experience is meant to look like. Pardon me. And also, I feel if you're coming to grad school as a master's student, I feel you should have your expectations right, because it's different from being undergrad. You know, people probably want to come to New York City to have their masters, and they'll be like, "Oh, I gotta be outside, I gotta party." It happens, but I feel like for undergrad, you can get away with that, but for masters, there's a level of manning up that you have to do, because you have to take responsibilities. Like, if you can relate, like you come here, you're on your own basically. You pay your tuition. I did myself, so you no one is gonna do it for you, and you also want to study, and you also want to work, so you have to find a way to, maneuver your way, out there and fend for yourself. So I feel it kind of prepares you for life also. I will kind of say that, because like there's all this rush in your head about, oh, am I gonna pay my tuition? Am I gonna submit this assignment? I also have work, and I have this, and you probably have a girlfriend or whatnot, and you got to deal with this and deal with that. So like all this old rush in the same city, and also you're trying to also be outside because you're also trying to be social. So there's a lot of like things going on in your head. So I just feel like it prepares you to man up, and not everything is always like like very comfortable, I would say. Like there's some level of discomfort that you have to walk through, like having your masters and walking through all that, and also trying to excel at the same time, because I feel like everyone pretty did like really well. No one complained about like anyone.
So I think just to touch up on like all of our points, I feel like just going to school in New York City is just we're very, very lucky. We're also very privileged to go to school over here, just because like a lot of people don't have those opportunities. Like I know for you guys, for Theo, for Andreas, you guys came from a different country, and you guys had that experience to come to America and experience what Americans go through, at least for the educational schooling system at least. And I feel like also we have a lot of societal expectations on us, a lot of pressures. Just because we are graduate students, we have that expectation from our parents, from our friends, whatever it may be. So I feel like we have a lot to prove to other people, but also to ourselves. So how do you guys think your experiences are different from coming from another country to coming over here?
I would say it's similar, but at the same time very different, in a way that first and foremost, the cost is definitely 2 to 3 times more to attend a master's degree for international students. That obviously plays a huge role if you don't have a scholarship, or if you don't have the financial, needs, covered at the first place. Also, it's kind of harder because I guess, to my knowledge, I wasn't able to apply for FAFSA, or something financial aid related. So I had to pretty much rely on my savings that I had from, my previous years, my undergrad and past my undergrad, and also in my country, and also work here during my studies. So that was definitely, the biggest challenge for me. I would say financial difficulties, and then coping with the schedule, the work schedule and everything. But overall, I would say it was a great experience for me to see, how like more New York locals and people coming out of state in New York City to study that were born and raised here. It gave me the idea of comparing and seeing differences and similarities that we have with our countries, and definitely trying and accumulate the best out of both worlds. My world, I guess, back in Greece, and then New York City, which is was a great experience. So I feel like it was a win-win for everybody, experience-wise and knowledge-wise. It's definitely something I wouldn't trade for anything if I had to look back. Yeah, 100% sure that it was one of the best decisions I've done so far. I don't say it because I came to Queen's College, but I'm saying it mostly because of the trust and the vision I had in New York, because I've seen it happening, and it happened to me too. So it's definitely something I would do, in a heartbeat if I had the chance again. Difficulties were a lot, but again, it's definitely worth it. Think about it. If you made it all the way from your country to here, graduated, paid off everything, and then you're good and you have your job, you don't have to keep comparing yourself to others, but you're doing good. Yeah, you're doing good. So that's the most important part, and it's only up. From this point on. So if you have this mindset, I'm trying to have this mindset. I feel like it's gonna be beneficial for everybody. If you're a resident, non-resident, etc. So definitely, well worth it experience.
I think that's like the beauty of going to graduate school or just going to college in general. We get to meet everyone from different walks of life, everyone from different countries. There's a lot of different diversities within, going to a college institution and stuff. And I feel like education is just such a universal language. We might not speak, the same dialect of languages, but we can understand the same concept. We can understand, different methodologies or, whatever studies, whatever it may be. So I feel like that brings all of us together, because graduate school or just college, undergraduate school is tough in general. And I feel like that's what brings people, together, is just, that struggle, because it's not easy to some people, certain concepts. So, we're all there. We're all basically experiencing the same type of things. And yeah, so I feel like that's what I enjoyed about going to graduate school, is that we're all here to learn, but we're also here to help each other out. And I feel like that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
One thing that I was going to say, and you're probably thinking, why did the kid that said he was born and raised in New York City is talking about his experience of coming from a different country. But what I wanted to say just really quickly was, like, I actually think about this a lot, right? Andreas and I are from two different countries, but we're kind of around the same region, in the Balkan region. And there's a lot of financial crisis there. There's a lot of people living, below the poverty line, and just have different economic and social challenges to kind of deal with and contend with on a daily basis. So I think about it a lot, that out of everywhere my parents were from, right, like one of the poorest countries in Europe, and then to decide like 20, 30 years ago that out of everywhere that they were going to move to the most expensive city in the world, which is crazy to think about. Like, how do you even make that change? But for these guys and everybody, I think we all relate pretty well, because a lot of people in Queens College and just in New York City are either first-gen students or coming from out of state or out of country. But for them personally, I think it gives them, even Theo and Andreas, I think it gives them a different perspective and different level of adversity that they had to kind of navigate through and get challenged through, that I don't have that experience. So they get to draw from that a little bit more. They mature a little bit quicker because of that. They grasp understandings a little bit better than that. So, I commend that and I respect that, because you could say, oh, if I did this or I did that, but I don't think you can actually imagine it and live through it unless you have gone through it. So it's a completely different experience. But that's what I just wanted to say. Like, everybody gets along pretty well, because like you said, everybody just comes from all different backgrounds and stuff, and then you're able to relate on that level. Like I don't know if the camera can see me, but the first time Andreas saw me was like, he was like, "Are you Nigerian?" And I was like, "Come on, brother." But it's just funny things like that, where it's like Theo was saying, like, people leaving after the classroom, it's like, man, you get to connect with these people, like, them for much longer. But it's just because of that experience. You can't explain what it is. It's just like one of the experience you get by living here and going through it and meeting all different types of people.
Yeah.
Definitely hit it that way.
Yeah, you gotta tell him it's a
What's
video.
good, yo? Promote my boy to senior data engineer. You already know what's up, bro. You gotta get a promotion, 100K minimum. You're not taking nothing less, you heard? Nothing less.
Send this to HR. Thank you.